SwiftX's CEO Jason said that he reckons 2 to 6 million Australians could jump into crypto once the dust has settled on regulations. I think a lot of the market is sitting on the sidelines.
Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy, back at it again. They've acquired another $1.1 billion worth of Bitcoin. They've bought the dip again. Now they come to a whopping balance of 244,800 Bitcoin.
G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Tapping Into Crypto. My name's Ted and I'm joined by the great man Pav Hunter. Pav, how you doing today?
Yeah, real good.
Good?
Came in hot then, sorry.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You kind of screwed me up a little bit there. That's right, mate. You're a bit of a rookie, but plenty of improvements to be made.
It's fine.
Mate, how you been? You made any big trades recently?
No. Been staying low, just watching the footy finals. Shout out to the Lions. How'd they do that? I don't know.
Go those bloody Brisbane Lions.
Yeah,
hey.
They could have just not done as poorly at the start, but anyway.
Well, speaking of trades, I've got a little anecdote for the listeners. So we were at the opening of the Grand Brisbane Casino the other night. Losing money as we like to do on the blackjack and the roulette tables, and I look over and Pav's on his phone and he looks pretty glued to his phone. I'm like, what are you doing there, Pav? And what do you know? He's making some huge trades. I think he made about a $3,000 profit on one trade in about 10 minutes.
Yep.
So, mate, I mean, I respect the hustle, but like, come on, we're at the casino to lose money.
Hey, got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Anyway, before we get into it, guys, I'll just preface that I am coming down from a little bit of
in case you can't tell by the
flu or COVID. You can probably hear it in the voice.
Like half of Australia is currently fighting something off.
Yeah, exactly. So shout out to everyone battling sickness out there.
Shout out to the Codral crew.
That's it. So bear with me if I'm a little bit slow, but I might need Pavi to take the reins on this one.
If you start a coughing fit, I'll just mic you mute.
Yeah,
mute your mic.
My
God! I think I'm no better.
Like that. But look, we've got a pretty interesting episode, particularly with the news. I know Trump was on a Twitter Spaces this morning, so we'll unpack that.
Yep.
And you'll unpack what's happening in the market as well as
big week ahead.
Talking about some key events that are happening in the next week and how they could impact the markets. But without further ado, let's get stuck into the market. Pav, what do you got?
Let's talk markets. All right, so we've been tracking sideways, boring. We've been following this range, since August when we had that massive dip at the start of August. Currently fighting at the middle of this current range. For those listening at home, come check us out on YouTube to know what the hell we're talking about. But the way I sort of line up and measure up markets to some degree is I like to see structural shifts in the market, and we have technically on a daily time frame put in a higher high, which means we basically broke above 57.9. Let's just call it 57,960. So for me, I think holding anywhere around this sort of region is pretty important. It's going to be likely the first place we're going to see a higher low, which is how a trend starts to develop. But that being said, big news week this week.
Just to confirm, is it big?
It's large.
Okay.
We have the federal funding rate revision coming in on Thursday. It's about 4 a.m. our time here, Eastern Australian Standard Time. So when the podcast launches a bit soon after.
So what the hell does that mean?
So a big part of the puzzle, obviously, we've seen markets go down for quite some time. There's a lot to it, but one of the key building blocks as to how we get the markets to move again is liquidity. So liquidity being market money available in the system, cash or credit. And part of that narrative is that the interest rates come down, right? So we've all sort of felt the pinch, I'm sure, across the last 2 years. This will be the first rate drop since 2020 in the US. And I know a lot of other countries have started easing, but the US accounts for a large portion of the global GDP. Seeing a shift in the cost of money basically will then influence growth for the next however long it be, 4 to 6 years, whatever the business cycle usually tends to be. But at the end of the day, right now rates are 5.5. The market's forecasting 5.25. If you actually head over to some of the futures markets where people are speculating on what the rates will actually be by looking at things like bond yields, etc., they're actually penciling in more of a 0.5% drop. So the market right now could be actually accelerating its expectations of an interest rate drop. And we're seeing that in the stock market. It's, that's a smash into new all-time highs. Bitcoin's kind of just doing its thing, chilling, not doing a great deal. But a big takeaway here is obviously conditions getting better or worse for on-risk markets like crypto. They'll get better with rates coming down. And if the Fed takes a stance of being more aggressive because they're worried about things like the growth market or the jobs market in the US falling a bit faster than what they want, I think they would step in and do the higher rate. But at the same time, I would caution, what we might see leading up to this event is prices rallying as everyone's expecting a larger drop, but we get the shallower drop and then the market reprices very soon after. So volatility, I'd say, would be the name of the game this month, but it all sort of feeds into like whatever happens short term. We've seen historically Q4 is when it really starts to matter. The dust settles, we start to see a trending environment for the market. So I would just caution right now that you could see the market just whip backwards and forwards uncontrollably. And that's understandable when we look at things like fear and greed right now. Like we're at levels, this is looking at CoinMarketCap's measurement, 35, which is right in the fear pocket, very similar to October 2023, which we all know what happened back then. We had a nice little rally all the way up until about March, May this year. So all in all, sort of seems like everything's heading on track, but I would just caution short term. There's nothing to say we can't see some massive whipsaw event where Bitcoin even tracks below these current lows of 49K. Like we don't know till it happens, right? Yep. So for me, the overwhelming theme is you've got a big news event coming. Even if we look at the ETFs, which, we talk about that as being our smarter money or more institutional money, let's not call it smart. Let's just say bigger bag money. They were picking up Bitcoin last Friday to the tune of $263 million US. So that is considered a big day, double the average, which the average is currently 101. So all in all, I think the stage is being set for things to finally get moving. We've complained about things being boring for so long now.
Yep.
I think we're about to get the whip out. And we'll see where the market sits in a week's time from now. I think it'll be pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on that fear and greed metric you brought up, so we're currently sitting in fear.
Yep.
The legend Warren Buffett, obviously a bit of a crypto critic, but when it comes to trading, he's a legend. His famous quote is to be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. Obviously, people are fearful right now. Take what you want from that. Very boring right now. There seems to be a lot of disinterest in crypto at the moment. If we just look at simple metrics like Google Trends for Bitcoin and crypto terms, like it's right down. If you look from like the March highs, like March there was a big spike, and even if you go back like 5 years, like you'll see it really down from those highs in the last bull market. So what I take from this is if you're listening now, you're pretty much in a good position because you're in the minority. It means there's a lot of upside to be had. And so patience is key and to not get complacent. I often like to do the opposite of what I feel. So if I'm feeling like really greedy and really bullish, I like to kind of sit back and say, okay, should I actually be buying more crypto right now? And do the opposite when I'm not really interested in the market because there isn't much interest in the market. Like that's typically what your emotions will tell you. Just like, I'll sit back and we'll wait for it to do something. But these are actually times what I've learned from in the past is actually this is where you should be taking action. And historically that tends to, what is it? Bold futures. What is it?
I'm
trying to think of the Matt Damon quote.
You're sick.
Yeah, no, man.
Fortune favors the brave.
Fortune favors the brave. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So what does that mean for you in a time like this right now? Like, what actions are you taking?
Look, I just like to try and allocate a little bit more funds to my dollar cost averaging strategy. So like in a dollar cost averaging strategy, you're typically buying set amounts over set intervals. But in this case, I like to allocate a little bit more to get those dips when, things are really low or things are, not much is happening. So I can really capitalize on when things are good.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I think if you're listening now, you're in a good position. That's the big takeaway.
Totally agree. I can speak from personal experience. Like when we did see a couple of these most recent dips, I have just been like very just biting, DCAing, just Bitcoin for me at the moment. So
yeah, exactly.
Pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But look, we've got a big event coming up this weekend. Actually, it's the Solana Breakpoint conference. So that's their sort of big conference. There'll be some key speakers there. I know you're keen to hear Iggy Azalea speak.
Let it happen.
The famous Aussie rapper. She runs some sort of meme token called Mother.
Meme coin with apparently some utility.
Called Mother. She's actually listed as the third headline speaker there, which is interesting. But apart from that, there's actually some key figures from the likes of Solana, obviously, Jupiter as well, PayPal and Visa will both be there. So often projects will use big events like this to make some key announcements. So keep a close eye on this one because we might see some big announcement coming from the likes of Jupiter and Solana projects as well. So Jito, I think, has a speaker there. So we'll obviously cover it next week on the show, but I'm going to use this sort of event to tailor some of my strategies for the tipping competition. So
nice. A little bit of prelude.
Yeah, very absolutely. But just as well, we've got a number of key events happening in October. So we've got the Ripple Swell, the
Sorry, just can't help but chuckle at that.
That's not bad. Yeah. Avalanche Summit, pretty good as well.
Yeah, it's good too.
The Stellar event, which is called Meridian, Cosmoverse, Cardano Summit, and SmartCom, which is the Chainlink event. So some of those key projects there all have events happening in October. So could be some big movements around those events.
Yeah, I think so. But let's jump right into the top movers. Let's give this the good old-fashioned refresh. So I think this week will be quite a busy week. So what you see here may not be what's happening by the time this episode releases. But I mean, in terms of narratives, I'm just seeing the same things play out that we've been talking about for, God, it feels like a year now. I guess seeing infrastructure tokens lead the way. Celestia, interestingly enough, was written off by quite a few people, but it seems to have been leading the way this last week. Sui continuing to show that strength after a massive week last week, so up 8% again this week.
Well, I think it's because we spoke about it and you buying the Sui handheld device last week.
That's what's done
it. But also, I think the big thing to call out there is Grayscale.
We didn't miss that.
Which announced its Sui Trust actually started trading for approved investors, so not everyone can buy it. I'm not sure what the
it's like a private OTC style of product.
Exactly. Yep. But so that launched its BitTensor and Sui Trust for trading last week, and so that was the reason for that pump. Also, probably us mentioning it on the podcast as well.
Yep.
But if you go to the top, so if you go to 100 to 200, you'll see that you'll see Baby Doge is up 93% in the last 7 days.
That was interesting.
Do you know the cause behind that?
Yeah, I looked into it. They're trying to create their own version of like Pump.Fun, like that community-driven startup launchpad type of thing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think you've missed the key news there. They just got listed on Binance.
Oh, there's that too.
Yeah.
I
mean,
but the thing is like that actually what could cause price to change because they've adjusted the tokenomics now. So every time someone does a trade and buys an asset, they burn the fees.
Yeah.
So basically makes it deflationary.
Gotcha.
Which is a nice way to say they're trying to kill the supplier just through trading activity. So that can influence price, obviously.
Like that. Yeah.
If people use it.
Turbo as well, up 20%. That was another Binance listing. These were coins that were listed on SwiftX as well. Yep. So just to call it out, you can get a lot of these tokens on SwiftX before they list on major exchanges like Binance, Coinbase.
Yep.
But yeah, anything else to call out there, Pav?
What do we got? I think we've mentioned Prime in our gaming wrap that we did a few weeks back. That seems to be leading the pack in the 1 to 200 range. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm not too keen to see Hex there after obviously the controversy around that. I'm sure a lot of people got burnt by that, but just be careful if you're investing into something like that.
CKB is the big one, up 77% in the last 7 days.
Couldn't find anything about it. What about you?
The only thing I could see was it got listed on South Korean exchange Upbit, which is gaining a lot of traction. Seems to be their biggest exchange over there. So potentially, is CKB a Chinese-based token?
I'm not sure. I'd have to do a bit of reading into it, which probably would have been good before the episode.
No, that's fine. Pav, let's move on to some news headlines.
Let's go.
Look, a little bit of a local story here. So SwiftX ran a bit of a survey. Shout out Tom for doing this one with YouGov. So he did, it was a survey of 2,000 or 2,500 Aussies. Found that Gen Zs are leading the way in terms of crypto adoption in Australia. So overall, we run this survey every year. Overall, people holding crypto in Australia actually dropped since last year, which was interesting to see. But the amount of Gen Zs, so people born between or from 1996 and onward, so that includes me, are leading the way in terms of adoption in Australia. Well, I don't know. And so they actually, 32% of Gen Zs hold crypto in Australia, whereas across the board, it's around 20% of adoption in Australia, which puts us in the top 10 countries by crypto adoption in the world. So Australia's having a real crack there, which is good to see. But one thing that was interesting to see was Aussie investors are awaiting stricter regulations before they buy.
Definitely.
Which is something that we've always called out, and I think it's something that we're still probably a little while away from.
Yeah, it's no indication that it's coming anytime soon. I think the country that's moving the fastest is Europe, I believe. They've got
Europe's a good country.
What?
You said the country, and then you said Europe.
Oh, that just clicked.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take that one.
Pav is geography isn't your strong point.
No. Throwing me now.
Sorry, mate.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, they've regulated stablecoins.
Yes.
They've labelled them e-cash. So interesting to see if, Australia being Australia, we usually tend to copy what some of the other leaders in the world do when it comes to any sort of policy. So
yeah, well, they've put out that token mapping paper, and I don't want to go too far into it because I haven't read it front to back. But the idea is basically they will regulate what tokens can be listed on certain exchanges and things like that, depending on certain or existing financial structures.
Yep.
But SwiftX's CEO Jason said that he reckons 2 to 6 million Australians could jump into crypto once the dust is settled on regulation. So I think a lot of the market is sitting on the sidelines, particularly people in more the traditional markets. They're used to having that regulated side of the market, so maybe they're waiting for that before they actually fully dive into crypto.
Makes sense.
But just speaking on Jason, I think we'll get him on the podcast in the next sort of month or so because he'll bring some really good insights into the Australian market, stuff that you can't really find online anywhere. So sort of some internal SwiftX insights coming from Jason. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, good. All right. Next up, I thought we could. I know this is not technically new news, but some people may not have caught it. But Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy, back at it again. They've acquired another $1.1 billion worth of Bitcoin at an average price of $60,400 US. So they've bought the dip. Again, historically, the market hasn't necessarily bottomed at these prices, but it usually is an area that we have a few weeks later push from if we look back at their previous purchasing history. But now they come to a whopping balance of 244,800 Bitcoin. Not bad.
Not bad. That's almost as much as you have.
No. And that Bitcoin was acquired for an approximate value of 9.45 billion. So the average purchase price is 38K. Let's just say that.
And current prices are at 58K, so they're looking pretty good.
They're looking very tidy.
Yeah.
So they're doing another round of funding to sort of help source their next purchase. But MicroStrategy stock also soaring as well, just with the performance that they've had in their Bitcoin investments as well. So shout out to them.
Love that. Good.
Love to see them win.
Nice one. So the next headline is the Trump. Jumped on an X Spaces this morning, actually about an hour ago. I caught the end of it to discuss the new World Liberty Financial protocol that his sons are launching. So I think he was announced as the chief crypto
ambassador.
Yeah, which who knows what that really means. But it's always interesting to see a former president and potential future president talking crypto, something that we're very keenly interested in. But sort of the key highlight to call out there was when he initially launched his NFT set, he sold 40,000 NFTs in a day.
Yeah, that went bananas, didn't it?
Which he really wasn't expecting, and then he launched another 3. So he's done 4 different sets, which all went in 24 hours. And what he said was he was blown away with the amount of people paying in crypto, and that really opened his eyes to crypto. Before, he wasn't really sold on crypto, but he just under that kind of brought his level of understanding of crypto as a currency to the level it is now. And he also said a lot of his friends who are smart people are believers in crypto, which kind of swayed him to become a believer as well. And obviously his sons are into it as well. So still not super fond of this World Liberty Financial thing. I
haven't read into it, but even the white paper, I think there's a whole bunch of people with what do you call it? The majority, a fair majority of the tokens, early investors. We've seen where that goes in the past when the markets do run a bit hot,
and particularly with the regulatory side in the US not really in favor of DeFi. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. yeah, I don't have too much else to say on that one.
No, neither, but we will keep an eye on it.
Yep. And then just another one worth calling out, or what we're going to monitor over the next couple of months, is Swift, basically the largest financial network in the world, is continuing to run crypto experiments. So they're running tests across the Ethereum, Chainlink, and Avalanche infrastructure networks. So good to see that themselves and also the likes of PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, they're all running crypto tests, and really it's just plays a role in that adoption piece, should I say. So I wanted to keep an eye out for.
Very good. Now, I think that covers the news for us today. We thought now that the markets, we're heading into Q4, Ted and I both, personally expecting markets to start to look a little bit brighter.
Yep.
We rightfully bring back the tipping comp
Yeah.
because it wasn't too fun when everything was just, going down. It's a bit hard to just do your tipping when you're in stable coins every week.
Yeah, exactly. And it didn't reflect very well when we were in the red, despite knowing that we were going to go down. Mate, I'm going to go Bitcoin. Obviously, dominance is on the rise, and I think we're still due for that Bitcoin dominance to top out before we have an altcoin run. So I'm going to go with Bitcoin as a third of my demo mode portfolio this week. Of course, we run the tipping contest on the SwiftX demo mode.
Yep.
Then I'm going to go Aave. So off the back of the World Liberty financial hype that's happening around Trump, and then also I think Coinbase have this wrapped Bitcoin product that Aave are supporting on their protocol. I think there's a little bit of a narrative happening there.
Yep.
So that will be a third or 33% of my portfolio, and then Jupiter. So I think this is pure speculation. I think Jupiter might have some big announcements at the Solana Breakpoint conference happening this weekend. So speculating that there could be some price action from that.
Won't be mad about that. Yeah, cool. Sounds good, mate. I'm in the same camp as Bitcoin. I think if anything's going to happen first, it'll be probably the one to break the levees if it is going to happen. I'm personally still a bit skeptical that we'll see positive price action this week. So my other two assets are stablecoins, just to be boring still for one more week.
So you just called out that you didn't want us to trade stablecoins.
I was waiting for you to pull me up.
And now you're doing USDT and USDC. That's very exciting, Pav.
Yep. How's that make you feel?
Angry, frustrated, and more determined to win.
Yeah, that's
and rub it in your face
bit
next
of fire
week.
in the belly. That's good.
No. Look. That's the way you want to go. Let's do it.
Let's go. But that's me this week, and I still obviously bullish heading into the next couple of months personally, but I want to see some dust settle before I start chalking up too many altcoins.
Okay, I respect the rationale.
Yeah,
let's see what happens.
Let's go.
Let's wrap it up there, Pav. Thanks so much for joining us this week, guys, and we'll see you next week. Hopefully I sound a little bit better next week.
No worries.